Previously on Dandies in Danger.
He can hear half of a conversation. I'm sorry about the pretense, Marshal, but in this line of work, you never know if somebody doesn't show back up home again, and so... No, you don't need to explain anything to me. It's quite all right.
I had a few questions for Mr. Underwood about your acquaintance, Miss Campbell. Between you and me, I think there's something fishy going on here. We're looking around. We're trying to figure out what's going on in this house, and was wondering if you would perhaps be interested in joining us.
We'll let you know if we find out anything about Lord Bush. Aside from the baths, there is one room that we have not explored.
He very carefully and slowly pushes the door open.
Liam and Adrian step over the threshold into the room of Lord Howard Bush. Daniel, you hear someone calling, Mr. Verdi?
Is it Dorothea?
Mm-hmm. Zachary, you feel a very slight ping of the presence that you had felt in the hallway with the banging, and you can feel it from whatever is coming from her hand. And what she's holding is a thaumatrope. You all obviously know that something is happening in here.
We believe that the house is deeply haunted, and actually I think it best if you are not kept in the dark.
Let me show you this. As you watch the thaumatrope go faster and faster, instead of the guardian angel leaning over the child, you see a woman in a green dress with a long poke bonnet begins to lift her head up from where she's gazing at the child and begins to point it towards you.
Hi, my name is Eli, my pronouns are he, him, and I play the voice of Zachary Wilkos.
Hello, I'm Cass, my pronouns are she, her, and I voice Liam Bardsley.
Hi, I'm Chess, he, she, they, and I voice Daniel Pritchard.
Hi, I'm Toast, pronouns she, they, and I play Adrian Edwards.
Daniel and Zach. The thaumatrope spins between Miss Dorothea Crispin's fingers. She shares your amazement as the illustrated figure in the green dress slowly turns away from the sleeping child and towards the three of you. This simple circle of paper, suspended between two pieces of string, glows faintly, impossibly green as the bonnet turns. And the green is growing brighter. That horrible dread hits you again, like a pound of cold marble in your gut. You have about 3 seconds to decide what you want to do.
Stop, would you stop it?
Dorothea stops twisting it, and she looks up at you in alarm, and then yelps in surprise, and drops the thaumatrope. It is no longer glowing green, and as you look down at it, it is turned a dark, dark shade of emerald green. It spreads over the entire circle of paper, and if you want to look closer, you'll have to bend down to the floor to pick it up.
From this distance, we can't see the image anymore?
No, the paper had been illustrated sort of like a little picture book style, and so it was on a kind of parchment-colored paper with the figures, you know, the child on one side and the guardian angel on the other. But at this point, all you can tell is that the whole thing has quickly turned a shade of very dark green.
It's spreading, but does it seem to be spreading outside of the limits of the thaumatrope?
It does not.
So Zachary waits a few moments to see if it's going to spread more. He's kind of like... he's kind of like weighing whether he should set this thing on fire or not. So he has his hands up as if he's ready, but if it's not spreading outside of the thaumatrope itself, I think he will sort of bend down to look at it. Not just sort of, he will bend down to look at it.
Excellent, I love that conviction. So as you bend down closer, you can see that there's some kind of embossed design on this paper. Are you going to just look at it, or are you going to pick it up?
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it, so I'm just going to keep looking at it.
Okay, Daniel, any thoughts? Are you watching Zach looking at the paper, or are you going to bend down yourself?
I think that spooked him a lot. In fact, I'm at 7 fright right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would have taken another fright. Can I put him at 8?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now that has some special conditions for Daniel. Do you have to roll for that now?
It says during combat, but I would like to roll now, I guess.
Yeah, please do.
Just to see if he faints or not.
Can you remind us why you're doing what this role means for Daniel as a character?
Daniel has a heart condition where he'll faint if he becomes too frightened or if he sees blood or things like that. So, because my fright meter is all the way at the top, I have to roll to make sure he doesn't faint. I got a 2 on my D8 roll.
Okay.
It means I have not fainted.
All right.
So Daniel clutches his heart and is breathing and is watching Zach, but is not going to go anywhere near it himself. And he would typically warn Zach not to get too close to it, but he is focusing on his breathing right now, and the words are caught in his throat and he can't say anything.
Dorothea looks up at you and tentatively places a hand up on your sleeve, and she says, "Oh, Mr. Pritchard, are you affected? Are you quite all right?"
He looks pale as well, and he's sweating, so he doesn't want to take his eyes away from the thaumatrope or from what Zach is doing, so he just kind of... but he wants her to know that he appreciates that she's there, so he kind of like pats her hand with his own hand. He says, "Yes, I'm all right."
"I don't know that you are. You should sit down." And before she can complete her sentence, the thaumatrope, which had turned that dark shade of green, completely crumbles away to nothing on the ground.
"Yes, I think sitting would be best."
So she moves you over to one of the chairs that is in this room and sort of seems unwilling to let go of your hand, seeing as how pale you are, and looks quizzically over at Zachary as well, just to see if, how Zach is reacting to all of this.
It's like it just disintegrated. That's strange. I mean, it did just disintegrate. I watched it, but where could it have gone? Yeah, okay, he's gonna start sensing around to see if he could pick up on that same dread energy to see if it went anywhere.
Go ahead and do your D20 roll, and you can add, I believe you added Arcane to this one, so go ahead and do that. And while you have gone over to the other end of the room and you are sensing things, Dorothea is going to return to Daniel's side, and in an attempt at a little bit of distraction, she's going to stand next to him. She's going to say, "This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me. As a matter of fact, I think I'm ready for it to stop now."
Oh, I feel you on that.
I wish I knew what kind of story this is. Is the heroine safer, ignoring the temptation of misadventure? Or will the skepticism get her killed?
Well, in these sorts of situations, I've always found that it is better to know what you are up against, rather than to lie in wait for it to make its move.
These sorts of situations, indeed. So, how does Mr. Daniel Pritchard get involved investigating a haunted house? It sounds like you've done this sort of thing before.
Well, I've told many lies this evening, but amongst them, I did not lie that I am indeed an adventurer. And he looks at her like, "Are you impressed?"
Oh my lord. Go ahead and roll me a d20 and add your influence.
Oh, that's a 19 plus my influence is a 21.
Wow, okay, well, consider
Charmed.
her impressed. She was already fairly impressed.
Am I girlfriends with her now?
Yeah. Well, I will say, she is incredibly impressed by the kind of suaveness with which you are carrying yourself while still looking incredibly pale and shaky from having experienced something so frightening. But what I will also say is that it does sort of give her a sense of confidence as well about the whole situation, that you have been through this before.
I have my number if you want it.
Yes.
Okay, I rolled a 17.
17 is very good, but unfortunately I'm going to have to tell you that you cannot actually feel this sensation anymore. But you can be confident that you're not just missing it. It is currently not present.
Okay, so it's alright. He doesn't want to believe it at first, so he kind of goes to the door and goes to the hallway and kind of looks around. I don't imagine he feels anything when he's there either, with a 17.
Nope.
Okay.
You can hear distant conversation that sounds like it's coming from downstairs. And it sounds like women's voices, and it's not approaching very quickly, but you can hear ladies' voices.
Do I recognize the ladies' voices?
Give me a wisdom roll.
23.
Holy shit, yeah. Then you can easily pick out the notes of Miss Chumley is amongst them, as well as Eleanor Audley, and that's about it. But you can hear them having a conversation coming from the ground floor. Just as a reminder, you're currently on the first floor, so one floor above them.
Zachary turns around back to Daniel and Dorothea and says, "It sounds like the women's hour is up. Or at least it sounds like people are coming back from the bath.
I didn't hear the clock chime.
He kind of makes a confused face at that, and then he nods. Perhaps they didn't need the full hour.
Dorothea suddenly gets a little bit fidgety and is like, well, perhaps we could take this conversation elsewhere then before they come up to this floor, if you don't mind.
Oh! Zachary's eyes widen and he nods fervently and says, all right, yes, that's our cue. Come on, Daniel.
But I want to come with you. I mean, what do we do in a situation like this? And she keeps looking back at Daniel. So if you've done this before, what do we do? Do we have to figure out who the ghost is? Do we figure out who's causing it? And she turns to Zachary. You mentioned the owner of the manor. I think Bush was his name. So what are we going to do? Like, how do we get rid of the ghost?
We?
Well,
Daniel grabs her hand. Yes, you are coming with us.
She is?
Yes. He stares directly. He whips his head to Zachary and he says, yes.
And what was all that about the mirror anyway? Why is that how ghosts travel through mirrors? And she's actually she's turned back to her items now and she is rifling through and she has pulled out one of her notebooks and she's flipping through pages. You can see that these pages are absolutely covered with story notes already, but she's desperately finding one with a blank page and she's like, I'm ready to help. I can do something while you two are down in the men's hour for the spas. Just let me know. Point me in the right direction.
I would rather that you didn't do anything alone. It's quite dangerous. Zachary and I had a most vicious scare recently.
Yes, that bonneted woman was spotted once before and, she's not very friendly. In fact, I mean, I don't know what it is she does, but I can't imagine it's anything good given the feelings I've gotten off of her.
I see.
Perhaps you and I could go exploring. I could forgo the bath.
Oh my god.
I'm quite clean as it is.
Zachary puts a hand over his face. Yes, can we decide this outside of where Daniel and I of the very male persuasion might be perceived?
Of course, let's go. Where's the first spot to look? And she actually pushes past the two of you and she's got her walking cane with the lion's head on it and she's striding out of her room. She has her notebook. Is there anything else I should bring?
Zachary looks at Daniel because Daniel seems to... Yes, ghost expert. And Mr. Adventurer, what else should she bring?
And he looks at Dorothea and he says, just your beautiful self.
He puts a hand... His reflex is just his hand just whips to his, forehead, there's an audible, when he does that.
He smiled when he said that, too.
An adventurer, You know, if you're not careful, Mr. Pritchard, I might begin to suspect that you're a rake as well. Shall we carry on?
Is that Zachary laughing?
Yeah. Sorry, he wears his emotions on his sleeve sometimes, especially when it comes to Daniel.
So, the three of you exit. Which direction would you like to head?
Well, I think...
the stairway?
Daniel would be like, well, where do your senses point us?
Zachary kind of comes down from the heightened energy from before and is just like, that's the thing. It burned up and I can't find another trace of that one in particular, but I can keep sensing around.
Before you guys met up with Dorothea, you were headed to the room with the sleeping figure, the breathing figure. I don't know if you want to go there now with Dorothea in tow, but that's where you were headed.
Thank you. Okay, then let me revise that and, well, we were headed in a particular direction, but I don't know how wise it is now.
You hear a sudden bang, but it is just the single bang as a door at the far end of this hallway slams open and Nathaniel comes sprinting out of the room, the very room with the breathing figure that you had just been considering. He comes sprinting out and he stops very briefly seeing the three of you standing in the hallway, but then he takes right off again and he says, I beg your pardon, excuse me, just one moment. And he slips past you and he is taking the stairs 2 and 3 at a time, sprinting down the grand staircase towards the first floor. And Daniel, I'm going to use your last witness to see that Nathaniel left the door open on that room. And with that, we're going to go to Liam and Adrian.
Is he running to come get us?
Could be. It is not immediately obvious to Liam and Adrian that they have discovered the lair of the enigmatic Lord Bush. The room is dark and uninhabited, but as light from the hall streams in, accessories of the occult emerge from the shadows. A turtle shell hangs on the wall between a floor-length mirror and a softly ticking clock. A glass-fronted cabinet reflects the hall light, hiding the contents, and a 4-poster bed is draped in red and gold curtains. As your gaze travels down, you notice that a circle has been carved into the wooden floor around the base of the bed and salt poured into the groove. A top hat, a pair of gloves, and a red jacket have been tossed carelessly onto the bedding. There is one window across from you on the north wall, curtains closed tight, and another door on the east wall. Much of the rest of the wall space is taken up with 2 floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a cluttered desk. A large leather armchair and ottoman crouch by the unlit maw of the fireplace. There is a table in the middle of the room crowded with open books and a few other tools you can't yet distinguish in the shadows. And that is what you see just standing in this doorway.
Adrian looks at Liam. Now what? I realize neither of us can sense anything in the same way Zachary can. So do we go in?
I think we have to party the old-fashioned way. And Liam strides into the room to start looking around.
Adrian follows by closely. Actually, Adrian looks around over his shoulder, and he's gonna go in and close the door behind them.
Very smart. Okay, so what would you like to look at first? And yeah.
I've closed the door. Can I fucking see anything in the dark?
That's true. It's very dark. The only light that you can see at this point is probably any sort of light coming in through the window, so it's going to take your eyes a little bit of time to acclimate.
Is there an oil lamp or anything?
Yeah, I'm going to say you were able to spot an oil lamp on a side table next to the bed before you came in.
Then Adrian's gonna fumble his way over there.
Okay, you can light it without making a roll. I won't make you roll for that.
Thank you.
Great, so you light it, and now you can see the room again.
I want to lean down and look at the weird carving on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're close to the bed, basically somebody has taken this hardwood floor and just scratched out and carved out a little groove, just simply circular groove. And you can tell if you're like getting down close to the floor, you can tell that the groove completely encircles the bed. And salt has been poured into this groove.
This might be a mistake, but Adrian wants to poke his finger in the salt, lick it off his finger, and go, "Salt."
Yeah, it's salt. That's great. Do you just like tap it a little bit, or do you disrupt the groove?
No, he just taps it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it's salt.
Liam, it's salt.
I see. Zach has talked about using salt before, hasn't he?
Yes, for wards and things.
Seems that this Lord Bush is fairly familiar with, well, Liam sort of gestures around the room, with the use of magic. That seems rather significant. Liam is going to go over and inspect the table, and I'm going to roll for him to do so. And again, you can have Adrian go and inspect anything that you like. Wow, okay, so I got a 19 on that, plus whatever wisdom is going to be plenty enough to see that. So what Liam finds on the table is a handful of gannet feathers, a cup with a small golden rod sticking out of it and red residue within. There are notes about all 12 of the previously missing people, with especially their locations around London marked out on a map of crisscrossing lines. There's a basket full of dried flowers and several stacks of books. And Liam starts to pore over these books. There's a variety of titles here. Since he rolled over a 20 once wisdom is added, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to list off some of these titles. He finds something called the Compendium Maleficarum, the Compendium Rarissimum Totius Artis Magicae Systematicae per Celeberimos Artis Hugis. Also, Desengano dos Pecadores, and Damonology by James VI and First. Liam is just looking over all of these books, and he picks up a few and he's looking through them with a very consternated look on his face.
Adrian comes over. He also looks concerned. He says, "What does this mean?"
How good is y'all's Latin?
So both Adrian and Liam would have taken Latin as part of their tutoring, because that was fairly common for gentlemen of education.
Fancy boys.
Fancy boys. In fact, I believe Zachary and Daniel would also have at least been given some rudimentary lessons in Latin whenever they were going to school as well, since they did go to a university. I think all four of them would have some, at least passing, familiarity with Latin.
Then are you able to translate any of these book titles for Liam and Adrian? Looking at them, would they know what any of these say?
Definitely Compendium Maleficarum. It also has a lot of demonology images printed within, so that one is a fairly straightforward guess. It is a compendium of bad things.
Well, it's not a cookbook.
It's not a cookbook. And so the other one, the Rarissimum, it's like the most rare compendium of the art of magic systems by the greatest artist. And so he's looking through a few of these. So these are books about largely demons. And
demons, huh?
Dark magic.
Who is this guy?
And so I'm having Liam look through all of this sort of at the same time that Adrian might look through something else. So you've got a few different things that you could go look through.
I'll go look at that glass cabinet.
Okay.
I can't tell, it's too dusty. I only got an 8.
Okay, so that's a moderate success. You can see that there are vast quantities of salt and olive oil, unique precious and semi-precious stones, a quartz bowl and pestle, some preserved organs, but with only an 8, you can't really tell what's in there. And also some small vials, but you don't really pay attention to some of the vials. It's just like more creepy stuff. And so you also see that there is an army of unused candlesticks.
Adrian holds his lamp up, squinting into the cabinet. It looks like this man has all sorts of components for spell making.
Spell making. And research on demons as well, according to some of these books. Although, it makes me quite suspicious. He flips open the cover of the Compendium Maleficarum, and there is a very familiar stamp on the inside with the insignia of the church.
Fuck. I was worried about that.
Oh my god, does he work with the church?
I don't know. I don't know, maybe he's trying to figure out how the church have been getting their power and wants some of that. That's what I'm worried about.
If it's got like the stamp on it though, it seems like it's from the church library.
He could have stole it. Maybe he used to work for the church.
He could have stolen it. He could have perhaps worked for the church. Maybe, I'm sure like in the black market, in the dark, like the macabre market and stuff like that, church texts that were stolen are probably like passed around and traded for like high prices and stuff. So there's any number of ways he could have gotten his hands on this, but
seems bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't, whatever it is, it doesn't seem good.
Liam continues to flip through these books to see which ones have the church stamp. All of the first 3 books that I listed do in fact have the church stamp in them. The 4th one, Damonology by James the 6th and 1st, does not have the church stamp in it. It instead has a little inscription. And so Liam sets about reading that. Adrian, I say listen to this. My good Theodore King, it pleases us that, in addition to thy name, station, and property, we present these 2 tokens in honour of thy most loyal service. The first to remind thee and thy descendants, to whom belong your most fruitful hours. The second gift, to ward against the likes of which thou hast thwarted, and thereby preserved our royal body. God be with ye, James the First.
Hold on.
Oh, is that a king?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. James the 6th and the 1st.
Are kings.
He is one king. James the 6th of Scotland, James the 1st of England. So he's one James. Sorry about the confusion, but there's your little tiny history lesson.
Okay, I was gonna ask, I was like, how did these Jameses connect after so many years? The answer will surprise you.
The clickbait article.
The same person.
Oh shit.
Adrian's jaw drops. Nathaniel's family. Is this implying the king was indebted to them?
For demon hunting?
For being a part of the church?
For church demon hunting.
Oh my god.
What on earth is this? And Liam starts furiously looking around the rest of the room to see anything else.
Liam, should we take and hide some of these books?
As a fun little prank?
If he doesn't have access to these books, perhaps he can't do what strange, malevolent thing he's up to.
If we're stealing from a bad man, it's a good thing.
You're really worried about the ethics of this? I don't think you're going to hell for stealing
No.
a few dark magic books from a dark magician.
Liam rolls his eyes and he stuffs the demonology book into his jacket. Oh, we'll
Very
look
good.
around
Fit
for...
another one in there. You've got plenty of space.
You're a tall boy, you should have deep pockets.
Liam goes over to look around on the bookshelves.
If there's a small enough one, Adrian's also going to tuck one away.
It's a little notebook on half demons.
My diary. Today I studied about demons. Didn't get to see any yet. Trying to get my hopes up.
Liam continues around the room towards the bookshelves, and then he stops dead. Adrian,
Uh-huh.
we might ought to hurry.
Why?
Liam points at the mirror that is next to the clock and the glass-fronted bookshelf.
You think he's
Saw you.
spying on his own room? Ah,
We-
damn. Well, let's go.
Let's look around.
What? No, we should
No.
leave.
But we haven't looked at everything yet. Let's have a look.
But we've been looked at. No, we have
Getting
to
mixed
go.
messages from Liam here.
Yeah, what the
Look, a
hell?
mirror. Let's stay.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sorry, we're leaving. We've taken our special little trinkets and we're leaving. And Adrian is half tempted to throw the oil lamp to the ground and set the whole place aflame.
Oh my god.
Go ahead and give me a wisdom roll.
Oh, Christ. 11.
Liam only got a 9 on that. So, we make our escape, and as we are leaving, we can hear the sound of hurried footsteps coming from the other entrance to this room.
Guess who?
Then we run.
Yes.
We run,
So-
run.
We sprint out of the room as we hear the door slam open on the inside. Go ahead, just give me a d20 roll, because I assume Adrian's going to try to close the door on the way out.
Yeah, I think he took the lamp with him, though,
Okay.
in his rush. 17.
17. Okay, so you do get it shut, and you don't hear anything for a little while.
Well, he's not stopping. He's keep going.
Okay, where do you want to run to?
He's keep going.
He's keep going. The closest place without mirrors would probably be the echoing stairwell, so that infamous place again.
Okay. So you're able to run in there, and as you walk into this stairwell, you do hear footsteps behind you again.
What? Oh no.
Where would you like to go now? So we're heading up the stairs, and we could hear there were footsteps in the hallway exiting out of the same exit that we had just left.
Does the door into the stairwell open into the stairwell?
It does open into the stairwell.
Okay, Adrian's gonna grab Liam, press him up against the wall, and they're gonna hide behind the door in the hopes that when it swings open, the person won't see them.
Ooh.
Okay.
It might hit them.
If he's running that fast and he slams it open and then it hits resistance, he'd be like, hang on.
That depends on
It's worth a try.
Okay. How do I roll this? Okay. I know how I roll this.
But Adrian does have his arm, like, pressed against Liam's chest if he wants to, like, you know.
He's gonna get knocked in the face.
Yeah, probably.
Will Liam be knocked in the face or Adrian?
Adrian would have positioned him closer to the door because Liam's sturdier.
Oh my lord.
So he's like, hey, romantic moment, by the way. You're gonna get hit.
Do I need to roll?
No.
Be strong, Liam. Don't flinch.
That's unfortunate.
But,
Because you have been perceived
but how?
with an 18. So, you had a very clever idea to hide behind the door that swings in, and Liam gets bopped on the nose
Oh.
as Nathaniel swings open this door, meets resistance behind the door, and then very slowly pulls it back open to look behind it.
Like I told you.
Adrian keeps a straight face and he says, "Good evening, Mr. King."
Liam is doubled over, bloody nose, and Adrian's like, problem? It's nothing to see here.
The bell chimes for the gentleman's hour in the baths. And Nathaniel stands there and says, "Were you, gentlemen, did you, happen to find yourselves in the room at the end of the hall there?"
Adrian very carefully puts his oil lamp down, scoots it behind his foot, and says, "No."
So he like fully bends over,
Uh-huh.
clinks it onto the ground, and then swipes it behind his foot, which would make a sound.
I believe at the beginning of the evening, it was made quite clear to you that the only rooms you were allowed to enter as guests were the rooms that were unlocked.
I do remember this.
Why? How did you go in there?
Into where? Can I perceive if Nathaniel has a new brooch on him?
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
How would he know? How is he gonna know?
A 10.
A 10. Moderate?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good enough. You didn't have to have a very high success for that. You can see that it's a new brooch.
Okay.
What purpose could you gentlemen have had for going into the locked room, and how did you get into the locked room? You have to answer my question, please.
I was looking for you, Mr. King. One of your guests has displayed some truly abhorrent behavior, and I think you need to have him thrown from the building.
That doesn't answer how.
I was looking for you.
Through a locked door?
I did not go through any locked doors that I'm aware of.
No, it must have been locked.
I don't think it could have been.
I'm sure I locked it.
Sir, hang on. Your nerves.
No,
Why don't, sir, I am a doctor. How about you come sit with me? You clearly need to have a drink. We'll get you a calming glass of brandy, and we'll sit down. No worries. I'm sure this is no fault of your own.
He's gonna do a perception.
Oh my god. Let's fucking go.
Gaslight him, yes.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, Adrian.
He looks abjectly terrified whenever you said that you didn't go through a locked door. Ooh. Unfortunately, however, he does roll very well on his perception. Plus, you're at a fairly reasonable level of influence with him as well, so he does
Shouldn't
get
I get
added
to
points.
influence him?
No, sorry.
Contest of influence.
No,
Yeah.
he's...
No, listen to me.
Oh, no, sorry, this is just for perception. And he happens to see an oddly bulky portion of your waistcoat because, well, did you ever put back on your jacket? It doesn't really matter, but just for aesthetics. Is it a bulky jacket or a bulky waistcoat?
It's a bulky jacket. We'll
Okay.
say he got his jacket back after all the boys united in the stairwell. Is the brooch on his cravat or necktie?
Mm-hmm.
Adrian's going to try. Sir, I think we need to have you come sit down, Mr. King. Perhaps loosen the necktie of yours so you can get some fresh air, clear passageways. You need to have a sit down. You look quite dreadful, sorry to say, but that's my professional opinion.
Give me a D20 roll, and we're going to do a contest.
Do I get my special pluses?
The reason why you can't this time is because he lunges for you.
Oh.
Not to attack you,
I
but he
open
makes
my
a...
arms.
He makes...
Hug him.
Ooh.
What am I rolling?
It's a D20 roll, and we're contesting each other
Okay.
physically.
Add anything?
No, I don't think we
Okay.
add anything. This would
Damn.
basically be like an attack.
Great. Okay.
But he's not going to punch you or anything like this.
It's a 6.
Yeah, you're saying all of these things, and he reaches forward immediately and pulls the book that you had grabbed off of Bush's
fuck.
table.
Sir, reaching into my clothes.
Are you honestly acting offended? You acting offended at this point, whenever you've been caught red-handed with this? Of all the bald-faced skull.
Adrian looks at Liam. He doesn't know what to do.
We can't send you out into the rain, but
Should I
It
go
just-
to my room?
Should I go to my room, Dad?
I will confer with Lord Bush in the morning when he arrives. But for the time being, just stay out of locked rooms. The rooms that were definitely locked. Do you promise it wasn't locked?
I simply put my hand on the handle and it opened.
I'm going to go ahead and let you do your influence roll.
Do I add anything now?
You are allies. So with that, in addition to your regular influence, you get a +3 to your roll.
Okay. It's a 7 in total.
Okay.
This fucking sucks. I quit.
That's all right. So with the moderate success, he says, just stay with the other gentlemen and don't explore around the manor anymore. He takes the book and he walks away. And what you got with the moderate success is that he was too busy paying attention to you to notice that Liam also had a strangely shaped bundle.
He's got 2 square boobs.
He's got a real shelf. So he takes the book that you had swiped, or multiple books. I can't quite remember.
Just one.
Just the one? Okay, so he takes the book that you swiped, and he walks back the way he came. And now we are standing, chastised, Liam with 1 point of damage on his nose, holding it and looking rather sheepish.
Adrian turns and in his moment of despair goes to Liam's bosom.
Where there is a book.
There's a book. He turns and he goes to just drop his head on Liam's chest and he hits a book and he's like, ow. That went really bad. And he steps back again.
I do believe that did go rather poorly.
Are you alright? You didn't say anything in that moment. Were you a bit concussed by the door that I shoved you behind?
I'll bear up. I think.
I apologize.
That sounds concussed.
I can check your pupils.
That's very kind of you to offer, Adrian. I think I was just trying to avoid as much attention as I possibly could at that point, but I think you bore up well given the circumstances.
Yes, I suppose. He taps on Liam's 2 flat breasts and he says, at least we got something out of it.
That's true. I suppose we should reconvene up in our rooms now. With Zach and Daniel, we said that we would meet up again in the Amethyst room to discuss things.
Yes, I wouldn't mind a break. A bath sounds rather nice at the moment, actually.
Fair enough. All right, let's go. And so we proceed up the echoing staircase. Zach and Daniel, shortly after Nathaniel had run past you, you also heard the chime of the clock. Where are you headed?
Zachary looks at Daniel.
Daniel eyes Zachary importantly and he points very small and then he looks to the door that is open.
Zachary follows his gaze and then looks back at him. And do you remember that scene in Shrek where Shrek and Donkey are looking at each other and then Shrek does this thing with his upper lip where he looks at him like...
Yes.
That is the look that Zachary is giving Daniel.
Oh my god.
Then
Daniel raises his eyebrows.
He flicks his eyes Zachary takes a step in the direction, inquiring eyebrow. He takes another step in the direction,
Dorothea speeds past you, walking towards the open door.
Well, that just ruins the suspense, he says, and he follows after her.
We were taking too long.
Dorothea has walked off, and she's looking back towards you. She has got her notepad firmly held in one hand. She has her cane in the other. She's trying to walk somewhat quietly, but she looks back over her shoulder eagerly, like, that's what you meant, right?
Zachary nods, and he catches up to her quite quickly.
There's a little heart that appears over Daniel. It goes broop, like in Animal Crossing, and he's just very attracted to her right now. She was bustling off to the adventure and then turns back, and I just imagine her so pretty and smiling and being like, that's what you meant, right? And then he's just he blushes a little.
That's too cute.
That is indeed what I meant.
That's so cute.
Perfect. Okay, so we walk down the hall. The hallway is just as long as it ever was. But we eventually... we do eventually make it down to the end of this hallway. And we arrive at this partially opened door. Who's going to go in first? Dorothea's confidence wavers for just a moment as she stands at the threshold to this door. There is a very soft light coming from within, which is a little different, Zach, than the last time you were in here.
Because it was pretty much pitch black last time I was in here, right? Or it was at least very heavily shadowed, as far as I remember, yeah.
I think Daniel would instinctively put a hand on Dorothea's shoulder to kind of indicate, don't go in yet.
Zachary remembers feeling very on edge in this room. I don't think he's going to enter until he listens. I want him to make a perception roll on the breathing.
Go for it.
That's an 18.
Beautiful. You can, in fact, hear that labored breathing.
In which case, Zachary puts a hand on the door and opens it just slightly more.
More light is now coming out of this room.
Oh, I forgot to ask what color the light is.
It's a regular warm light.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was the green light.
Yeah, thank you for double checking. It is not the ominous green light. And also, I'll go ahead and I'll let you know that as Zachary's baseline of supernatural detection, you're not picking up anything right now. You haven't tested specifically, but just at a sort of baseline level that Zachary is aware of these things.
Cool,
you haven't detected anything. Whenever you push open the door just a little bit, you can see part of the room. There's wallpaper with little pale green clovers. There's a dresser, and you can see more clearly now that there are a couple of puppets resting on top. You see on the floor there's a light green rug with a dragonfly design on it. You can see that there's a very dusty desk, and that's about all you can see from here. You'd have to go further into the room to see the bed.
And so he does.
As you proceed in, there is one door to the south, leading to Emily's room, which you had been through before. There's one large west-facing window with the curtain closed. There's also a bookshelf and a wash basin and a pale green chair by the window with an accompanying footstool. At the four-poster bed, you can see that the curtains have been pulled back on all sides. A bowl of soup rests on the nightstand, and sitting propped up on a sea of pillows, you see a man with dark hair streaked with gray, with his frame incredibly frail. He looks ancient. His eyes meet yours as you enter this room. His skin has been pulled and withered and aged in such a way that it looks different from a normally aged person. You can see past him to the other side of the bed. You can see a wheelchair in between the four-poster bed and the wall. As he shakily turns his head towards you, he makes eye contact, and his eyes look incredibly young for the face that they've been set within. Who are you?
Liked what you heard? Let us know by using hashtag #DandiesInDanger over on our Twitter, Insta, Tumblr, and TikTok in the listed links below. We'd love to hear any and all comments, questions, and theories as to where the story might be headed. Want to support us and our lads' adventures more directly? Then please consider clicking on the link and becoming a patron today. For just $1, you can gain access to our longer, uncensored outtakes and blooper reels. For $5, you can have access to exclusive stickers, in-world letters written by and for the lads, poetry by Adrian and Daniel, and original music from the show composed and scored by Chess Albanese. Can't afford to support directly? No problem. Podcasts survive by word of mouth, so if you like what you heard, tell your friends, family, and local graveyard ghosts all about these exciting tales. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Dandies in Danger is written and voiced by Elijah Bergateris as Zachary Wilkos. Cast as Liam Bardsley, Chess Albanese as Daniel Pritchard, and Toast as Adrian Edwards. It is edited by Toast. Original score and music composed by Chess Albanese. It is produced by Dandies team, and made possible by listeners like you.